The contributions of Stalin and the struggle for socialism today. The class enemy hates Stalin. When his name comes up, they lie. And just when you think they are going to wrap it up, they lie some more. They do so because Stalin led a vast movement of working class and oppressed peoples that spanned the globe, with the capacity to mount a serious challenge to world capitalism. Like Marx, Engels, Lenin, and Mao, he frightened them. J.V. Stalin was a great proletarian internationalist who took a keen interest in the workers' and national liberation movements around the world. The theory and practice of Stalin, as it can be applied to the situation we find ourselves in today, will be the focus of the rest of this paper. Monopoly capitalism and American exceptionalism. In 1929, Stalin addressed the American Commission of the Presidium of the Executive Committee of the Communist International. A group of right opportunists inside the Communist Party, led by J. Lovestone, made the argument that the general laws of capitalism, including crisis theory, did not really apply to the U.S., which would be immune from the crisis engulfing the capitalist world. Stalin responded, quote, "It would be wrong to ignore the specific peculiarities of American capitalism. The Communist Party in its work must take them into account. But it would be still more wrong to base the activities of the Communist Party on these specific features, since the foundation of the activities of every Communist Party, including the American Communist Party, on which it must base itself, must be the general features of capitalism, which are the same for all countries and not its specific features in any given country." Today, end quote, today, the issue of American exceptionalism still comes up. In the US and some other developed capitalist countries, there are those who argue that the laws of change, which are in fact the laws of society's development, and which were laid bare by Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Mao, and many others, do not apply anymore, if they ever did. So they say things like, the working class is bought off and unable to serve its historic role as the gravediggers of the capitalist system, ascribing that role instead to social movements. Or take, for example, the modern revisionists who remove all that is revolutionary from Marxism. They negate the need for the dictatorship of the proletariat and make the silly argument that it is possible to have a peaceful transition to socialism. Or they deny the inevitability of wars being waged by the imperial powers. Decline of U.S. imperialism. Monopoly capitalism is a law-governed system, and revolutionaries can understand those laws. Imperialism is a dying system, and the decline of U.S. imperialism is accelerating. In 1960, the U.S. economy represented about 40% of the world's economy. Today, it is about half that. In his work, Foundations of Leninism, Stalin states, quote, "Lenin called imperialism moribund capitalism." Why? Because imperialism carries the contradictions of capitalism to their last bounds, to the extreme limit beyond which revolution begins, end quote. The decline of monopoly capitalism is a real phenomenon that is shaping every social contradiction within the United States. The contradictions within the ruling class are sharpening, and Trump is an ideal political representative of an empire in decline. The fact that Biden-Harris have retained many of Trump's policies concerning the international financial architecture, including policies that limit the functioning of the World Trade Organization, protectionism, and the delinking of economies of the U.S. and People's China, are indicators that broader economic forces are at work, leading the U.S. ruling class to some points of agreement about what to do in a world where U.S. power is slipping. But on a host of issues, especially those that involved inter-imperialist rivalry, such as NATO or the war in Ukraine, there is anything but a consensus. The national question. In Foundations of Leninism, Stalin notes, quote, "Formerly, the national question was regarded as a reformist point of view, as an independent question having no connection with the general question of the power of capital, of the overthrow of imperialism, of the proletarian revolution. It was tactically assumed that the victory of the proletariat in Europe was possible without a direct alliance with the liberation movements in the colonies, that the national colonial questions could be solved on the quiet, of its own accord, off the highway of the proletarian revolution, without a revolutionary struggle against imperialism. Now we can say that anti-revolutionary point of view has been exposed." And in the context of imperialism's rapid decline, the issue of national oppression inside the U.S. is playing an important role in defining the contours of struggle. For example, the 27 million people came out into the streets after the murder of George Floyd, or the massive demonstrations in support of Palestine over the past year. Understanding the national question has allowed our organization, FRSO, to play an important role in these events. Lessons from the past and looking towards a bright future. Above all else, Stalin was a revolutionary who never hesitated to point the way forward for the international communist movement and never hesitated to correct errors when he found them. For example, in the United States during the latter period of the Popular Front, especially during World War II, revisionists within the Communist Party went so far as to liquidate the party. It was the world communist movement headed by Stalin that called attention to the problem and demanded the mistakes be addressed. We are now in a period where large-scale radicalization is underway in the U.S. There are more people who view themselves as Marxist-Leninists than at any time since the 70s. The situation for building a new communist party in the U.S. is excellent. Long live Marxism-Leninism. Long live the international communist movement. We have a world to win. To share those sides yourself or to find more like them, please visit on Twitter, FRSO, Freedom Road Socialist Organization, at Freedom Road Org, Revolution, Socialism, Liberation. We are a national organization of revolutionaries fighting for socialism in the United States. FRSO runs Fight Back News. Solidarity, comrades.